Recording in progress.
Okay, folks, it's close to 5:30. I would like to call to order the June 24th Lewes Bike and Pedestrian Committee. Tonight's meeting, we'll try to shoot for a 6:30 close, which I think we'll be able to since there are some other responsibilities folks have after this. And today we have, so we have Ray Quinlan, Jack Faraday, Khalil Saliba, thank you, and Jamie Locklear representing the police force, and Julie, thank you. And I'm Glenn, I'm representing Mary since she's out today, but we have a quorum. Our committee's down to 5 members.
We have Aaron online.
Oh, great, okay, so Aaron, hello. So first order of business for tonight is approval of the minutes from February. I read them and saw no clearing issues. Jack?
No, I just wanted to
Any
see about some of the results of stuff we have here. The minutes are fine. I can talk about that later.
Okay, so let's get those approved. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion, we approve them.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And all approve the
All in favor.
motion? Yay?
All in
Yay?
favor.
All in favor?
All in favor. Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Okay.
No. Okay, so the minutes from 2:25 are approved. Now, going through the agenda, first we'll go over old business items. There are 3. One is the discussion about the bike corral. And Julia, I think you have an update. We're going to put a picnic table in?
Yep, there will be a picnic table and a small pad area that will have stones. We're looking, I believe Kenny said Thursday or Friday of this week, if they can get to it, if not very early next week. So that should be, the picnic table has been in, so that will be going in place. And I'm not sure if it's a different item on the agenda, but the map, we blew up a map and put it in the kiosk.
Yes.
At the bike corral. So if you haven't been there, please go and take a look. It's a really nice size map, and it has all the information on it for the bike trails.
It fits there very nicely.
It's very nice. I'm very
And
happy
we
with it.
have, once we get the picnic table in, we'll call it a success there for
Yes.
now. We have a beautiful picture saying bike parking or painting on the
Yes.
other side that has been done. Are they going to give us a trash can also?
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe so.
Good.
Well, we'd need a trash can if we have a picnic table.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Another item of old business is there's been a request by the mayor that we provide at a council workshop our input and recommendations, and that will probably be in August instead of July.
The August meeting is canceled. I did speak to Mary about that.
Okay,
She's aware that there is no August workshop.
so is there?
It would likely be September,
Okay,
but they would like to present, Bike Ped, Khalil would like to present at a workshop
okay.
for their suggestions and recommendations for a holistic plan for the bikes and paths and trails.
So will this, presumably this will include some of the recommendations that,
Correct.
from the bike master plan?
Correct.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking on this is that we're going to talk about the trail. We have recommendations there, but also that we have our Lewes bike plan that's online now.
Right.
With a lengthy effort. And what I'm thinking what would make sense to help Mary would be if each of us would look through that and say which of the, kind of prioritize stuff and send that to Mary as input to her. I'll do that. And go ahead, Jim.
We have done that at one point. I mean, didn't we go down and vote on all that?
Yes, but right now, what Mary's saying here that she wanted to do was to present the current work of the charter, the bike plan, education, and overall improvements to the trail to mayor and council at one of their workshops. It will give us an opportunity to share with MCC and, importantly, hear their priorities and feedback on our work.
Yes, and I think you're right. We have done that prioritization, and perhaps and I believe Mary recorded that, perhaps she should
Right.
feed that back to us and then ask, any changes to that? That's probably a good
But
approach
she's
to
probably
that.
still looking for input on,
Say again?
she's probably still looking for input on what to
Yes.
not prioritize, but to highlight and, bring up that might not have gotten caught in the prioritization.
And, and then the charter, we'd sent this charter to the solicitor some months ago, no response back from him, so I guess we'll just include that in and just note that it has not been reviewed by the solicitor. And then the other part of that would be input on the trail stuff. And then that was the other old business for tonight, was discussion on possible action and recommendations to improve the safety of the redesign of the Georgetown Lewes Trail.
Do we have a date in September for that workshop?
It's always the third Wednesday. It was
Okay.
changed from Thursdays to Wednesdays. Khalil, do you have your calendar out?
Pulling it up now, young lady.
Thank you.
Okay.
What did you say, third Wednesday?
Third Wednesday, yes.
I think that would be August, excuse me, that's wrong.
September.
That's the wrong month. September, third Wednesday?
Is it third or fourth?
I think it's the 4th.
Blue, do you know?
I have, no, it's going to be the 24th, it's the 4th.
Fourth.
Okay. So we have 2 months to prepare for that.
Okay.
So on the trail, we've talked about a number of issues there. One, it's a regular, most interested on the redesign that they just did.
Right.
Would you like to make a comment?
Yeah,
on what you'd like to suggest?
Once the utility work was done on the end of the trail next to Gill's Neck, of course, they had to tear up the pavement, and I guess Board of Public Works talked with DelDOT, and then they proposed a design which was implemented and done, and it approved one aspect of the trail, and that it brought it gave cyclists coming out to Gills Neck Road a better vision for looking at traffic on Gills Neck Road, because it brought them away from that big hedge that was right next to the bike path. But the problem of it is the way that it's designed, people coming down Gills Neck Road, meaning cyclists that is coming down that road, they now have to make that turn there, but then they have to swing around. It's almost like a U-turn there. And from riding on that road, and you're slowing down and you have cars behind you, you have a little sense of I don't know, nervousness about cars coming up behind you, and you're trying to get off the trail as soon as possible, and I think it makes it more difficult to make that turn. Instead of just a right-hand turn now, it's a more elaborate turn to the right there to get you on the Georgetown Lewes Trail. Now, if you're going under the bridge on the Junction and Breakwater Trail, it's not as difficult. So, my concern is, and I ride that trail all the time, and the people are starting to ride through the area that's grassed in now that used to be part of the pavement, not coming east, but going west, and they're turning from the Gills Neck Road onto the Georgetown Lewes Trail. I think a lot of people are not going down to that particular area. Some people are, but I would like to see us put in a 5 to 7 foot concrete or blacktop area there, one way with an arrow, indicating it's a one-way trail.
Would you like to share your drawing? That's a
Sure.
good approach.
I don't know how well you could see this, but this is I shared with Mary, the green lines there, and to show areas and the other areas of the pass that people know which way we're expecting them to go there.
What's the mechanism for getting something like this done? Is it DelDOT that has to do it, or can the town do it if they determine that it's a
From talking with
worthwhile
Mary,
expenditure?
it sounds like it's a combination of both.
DelDOT would have to approve it because it's
But
their,
yeah, it depends what, I mean, certain roads, DelDOT owns the roads, but designate or delegates maintenance and other things, local decisions. I'm not sure there what we could find out. I mean, it's not hard to figure out.
Mary had talked with, I think, Joe or Jeff at DelDOT, and they preferred to wait until after the summer to see, what past people made in the grass and whatever else. My concern is if it's a safety issue, I think that we ought to address it, as soon as possible instead of waiting until the end of the summer, or do it as soon as we can. And she had indicated that we have some other issues, on the trail that I think that the majority of people want to try to address the double bollards issue, and we probably need to look at that. When the trail was put in, I think that the general safety protocol was go with double bollards. But I think it's problematic. And on the other areas of the trail, they only have single bollards. As they built the trail out 7.5 miles, they've only gone with single bollards, in one bollard in the middle of the trail. Now, they may have put one or two after that, but they're all in a line. So I would like to see if we could, and I think she also mentioned there was, at the library, there was for some reason, there wasn't a bollard put in on the west side of whatever that road is that runs by the library. And,
Adams.
What is it?
Adams, or are you
Okay.
talking about Monroe?
Yeah, and
Adams.
and I don't know whether they didn't do that for service people, for cutting grass, or for servicing HVAC for the library, or what, but there wasn't one put there, and there probably should be one put there. So maybe that's something we could address
At the workshop?
Yeah.
From what I understand, that was a very large part of what Mary wanted to present.
When we
was-
go into the workshop,
Yes,
we should
was
have
to have that addressed at the workshop.
we should present a statement in our recommendations.
Correct.
And then I think, I would say that the design that you have this would be perfect there, and I'm surprised that they didn't think of that ahead
Well,
of time, because the grass is already starting to get worn out.
Yeah,
when people
it's
make those
unfortunate
turns.
because they could have saved money on not taking out, they could have
Yeah.
just removed part of that one section there and just left it there. But, hindsight's 20/20.
So in the meantime, though, there's a bush there, too, that's kind of blocking view.
Well-
If that wasn't there, that would improve the safety also. Is there a way to get,
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why DelDOT, because I've had this discussion with DelDOT before, a couple of years ago, but that bush is actually in their 66-foot right-of-way, because I addressed this through the Delaware Bike Council a couple of years ago, and that was one of the reasons why they wanted to move it further down. That's why they did the little right-hand turn there, to get away from that bush, because it's an issue that they had it cut back once, and I think they just didn't want to go back and revisit that and continue to, trim that bush with the homeowner there.
okay.
So I think that's, in terms of being able to be effective in the workshop, providing the specific recommendations and the relative importance of them. I
So
think-
there won't be any action taken at the workshop,
Understood.
but this is the opportunity to kind of explain and give have give and take with mayor, council, and others who may be in the audience might want to comment on it as well. But, you know, if this is, if we have this ready in the before the workshop, I'm happy to share it with other members of council so they're not, you know, this is not the first time they're seeing it.
Right.
I think that's exactly what, that
Right.
picture you have there is exactly what we should be recommending. The other issues you mentioned, you know, there's the notes from Mary, consistency with connecting segments, improvements at the library, bollards and signage.
Signage, yeah.
So when, at the workshop, we should say, this is the most important thing, probably it's this, and the bollards have been an issue forever. It's like, why, you know, but, so ranking those and ranking the stuff from the plan, or I guess that would be helpful in the workshop, right?
And we could bring this all together. And another issue that I would like to bring up is the height of the bollards too, because some of them have been broken and new ones put in place, but they're much, some of them are like 1.5 feet taller than the other ones. And I've taken great pains to be able to make sure that, measure the heights of the old existing bollards. So when you have someone that's coming and both people can't go through the center aisle, so to speak, you go to the side, and I make sure that I know what the heights are so my handlebars can pass over it without crashing.
Are there ones that hit your handlebars?
Well, some of them, some of the tall ones that have been put in would definitely hit them. So
what would a recommendation on the bollards look like?
Depends on where they are.
Would it
If
be
they're within
changing them or
It
in
would
the future?
depend if they are city or if they
Yeah.
are DelDOT, because we only maintain and take care of the bollards that are on city property.
Right.
Or the city right away, not through the entire length of the trail.
So, Ray, you mentioned earlier that there's double bollards there, which we've all known, but the rest of the trail, pretty much, might have staggered here and there, but not two next to each other.
right, they're all single. For the 6.5 miles outside the city, they're all single.
So what would our
That was the new
recommendation?
safety, recommendation. So it went from old school being 2, and now it's only single.
But they left this
Right,
one here.
right.
So would our recommendation be that they
Remove
pull out
one
the
of
old
them.
ones and change them to one? That would be nice.
Be consistent to
Yeah.
have the,
It's
Sounds like
interesting
the
that
latest.
on Savannah Road, on the town side of it, you have the double bollards, but right on the other side of it, it's a single bollard, where they extended the trail out.
Yes,
From
well,
what I understand, it was because at that time, when that was installed, the double, that was the standard. Then it got changed to single, being the standard as they expanded the trail.
And it's also interesting, some people think that the double bollards are going to stop cars from being able to access the trail. It is so easy, if they want to access the trail, just to drive around them. At all of those different access points, it's easy if they want to drive around there.
Let's not make that recommendation.
No,
the single bollard reminds people there's a right lane and a left lane. And-
Yes.
And
Yes.
with two, it confuses that issue, so.
Yeah.
So. All right, so how do we handle this stuff then? Give input to, like, ranked issues to Mary?
I think Mary was going
Yeah.
to reach out to everybody.
Okay.
should probably come with a format.
Yes.
Any other trail issues?
But one other, and then I'll shut up. The last one is that I think that we ought to start addressing cutback of vegetation along the trails. You have some bushes, flowers, trees, bushes, whatever else that are grown over that's impeding, the width of the trail in some parts. And you're also going to run into issue with some of the growth that have been planted by some homeowners that may eventually start breaking up the blacktop that's there. I got something from a few years ago when the trail was first put in. They started from DelDOT, and they recommended a 2-foot, clearance area, and I will share that email with Mary.
Who would
that was-
enforce and act on that issue?
Well,
The DelDOT would have to be the one to do it, and from what I understand, because we've had some complaints about overgrowth on the trail, from what I understand, DelDOT is short-staffed and will not be sending anybody out.
well, from what DelDOT said, it's up to the city for maintenance. Well,
Only our side of the trail.
I'm just telling you, this is what Mayor Becker at the time was going to address this with the homeowners. And I've got the email right here. I can send it forward. Now, whether something has changed since then, I don't know, but that's what was indicated.
And I had one old business thing.
Okay,
Time for-
before we finish old business, yes?
So we had talked about the crosswalks on Savannah and on Kings Highway. And I think we're going to hear from DelDOT what there's no crosswalks on Kings Highway. And I think we asked DelDOT about it. And did we hear back from them?
Not as far as I know.
Yeah, I'm not aware.
No.
Okay. How do we address that with DelDOT?
Say,
There are no crosswalks.
There's two problems. There's no crosswalks from Savannah all the way up to the library on Kings Highway. There's no crosswalk mapping. And then on some of the crosswalks on Savannah, there should be, 3 crosswalks at a triple intersection and 4 at a 4-way intersection. And there are crosswalks missing, like down from Lloyd's at Dewey. There's a crosswalk on the west side of Savannah, and then there's a crosswalk on Dewey, but there's no crosswalk on the east side of Savannah. And that's where people go over to BB or go over to the Rite Aid or whatever. So, the guidance in some of the safety publications is they should have crosswalks on all paths across the intersection.
and you noted 2 or 3 that were most
Yeah.
egregious.
Yeah. So that was
Are
one.
those, besides the minutes for that meeting, have been those documented previously, then that we should include those in the workshop suggestions for the council?
That wouldn't be for council. That would be suggestions for DelDOT.
Okay. So who lobbies with DelDOT, us or the town?
The city does.
We do, the city.
So if we want something done by DelDOT, then we need the
Go
city
through
to
us.
help, so that,
Yeah, we have various, Mary has contacts there as well.
right. Well,
But I think
and does
I think-
Ray.
Yeah, but it needs to probably go through the city particularly in consultation with Ray and Mary, but depending on who we're going to at DelDOT.
Jack, would it be fair to ask you to define the specific crossings that you think are the most at issue, and then
Yeah.
provide that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And I'll give it to Mary then, or I'll give it to everybody, and then,
You can email it to me, and I can make sure that it gets to wherever it needs to go.
okay.
If pardon me if this is a silly question, but I've often cleared vegetation on routes that I use regularly. Is there any issue with cyclists or pedestrians clearing some vegetation if it's overhanging into a public path?
I think that's a good question. I don't know. My thought is, and before you, even if it's hanging over, and there's several areas that are hanging over, if there are flowers or something or plants that have been put in by a homeowner, it may be problematic to try to yank something out without having some kind of official go-ahead from from the city or from someone.
So if you did it late at night, probably, Aaron, it would work.
Let's not make that recommendation either.
That's a good question, though. In your home, if your neighbor's stuff is hanging over your yard, you can cut it back, but then that's a different situation here, I guess. So, how do we get that question resolved?
If it's within city limits, we can send code enforcement out.
Okay,
If it's not within city limits, then it's DelDOT, and
okay.
that's a different situation. But if it's within city limits, I can send out code enforcement, and they can go to the homeowner and let them know that they need to make the adjustment.
Well, would the same apply to sidewalks? I mean, for pedestrians.
Good
On sidewalks, you've got lots of places, you've got overgrowth, they're forcing people out into the street to get around the overgrowth.
Yeah, what sidewalks are you talking about?
Say on Dewey there's one bush on Dewey Avenue that's forcing people that you
Yeah, I
can't.
would say generally speaking, if it's just a regular sidewalk.
Right, just a
then-
sidewalk.
Then, yeah, that would go through code enforcement,
Question.
which
So-
doesn't necessarily have to come through Bike Ped. It can just come in through the city's website.
Right.
You know, they got,
Right, just put
where
it
you
on the
just
web. Yep,
send them a complaint or an
Yep.
issue, and
Yep.
they'll take a look at it.
Well, the same could be said then for the bike paths, right? Just put it in as an issue for code enforcement on the bike paths.
You can put in any issue that you have.
Yeah.
Obviously, when the bike paths were put in, they were just put in. And so it's like, here's the bike path, and we're figuring out who maintains it and who manages it and who enforces something on it and who cleans it up and who's responsible for everything from snow removal to repairing it if it's damaged. So, that was never answered, and it never will be answered. Bits and pieces of it have been answered over the years, but it's not gonna,
Yeah.
I don't know that you're gonna get a clear answer on it, because if it involves money.
That's good input. So just, I should know, but there's a place, to be clear, on our town website where you can report infractions like you're referring to.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Okay.
There's,
Compliments.
We
Compliments.
get a couple of those. So, yeah.
Less of those than the others.
You can send that stuff in on the city's website, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And we do have a specific form set up now for bike and ped concerns, in addition to, there was a pre-existing one for street concerns, car, traffic, et cetera. So we have a specific one for cycling and pedestrians.
And they come directly to me.
Okay, so that's pretty much
That's it.
all the old business except the maps. Julie had the large map put at the bike corral, which is nice. Aaron, do you have any other input on, you've been distributing maps a lot and updating the map cases. Anything else you want to say on that? I'll take that as a no.
No, he just,
No, if folks see any of the new signs on the map cases coming off, let me know. It seems like they're holding up so far, but I'm keeping an eye on them when I'm downtown or at the beaches. But yeah, just let me know.
Thanks, Aaron. Okay, moving to new business. The first item was the update and discussion of committee participation in the DelDOT safety checks. And Jack, I understand you went to the first
So
one.
Mary and I were both at the first one, and, DelDOT was handing out helmets and safety lights and things like that. And they had, a couple of dozen of people who stopped.
Okay, good.
And we talked to and encouraged them to use the helmets and bike lights and things like that. So, it was good.
So there's two more, 714 and 84. I plan to attend the 714 one, so you just show up? Did you just show up?
I just showed up. I brought some maps with me. Mary was already there. She had some maps with her.
That's a good idea.
So,
I've got plenty of maps in my office.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we handed some of those out, and
I'll be there on August the 4th.
Oh, excellent. Good, so we'll at least have one of us participating in both. I have a feeling Mary will show up at one or both of those. Okay. And the next item was update and discussion on committee engagement in addition to the bike rodeo. So the bike rodeo is part of Lewes Night Out on August 5th. I won't be around for that, so I won't be able to participate. Do you guys think you can help on that? No, and have you done the bike rodeo
I
before?
have not,
It's pretty exciting.
so I can help out. But one thing I did, there were a couple officers stopped by the bike thing that we're at with Mary, and they mentioned that they hadn't gotten, in the past, they had gotten a donation of a bike to give away. I don't know, a raffle or something, I don't know how they did it. But they didn't get one yet for this year. Is there anything we can do to help them,
Like to be donated at the,
to the police department to give away on the rodeo night, I guess?
okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what has happened in the past, because it's varied on donations. So, I mean, there was years past where they gave out bikes to half the kids that were in the night out, raffle tickets, but I don't know the answer to.
Helmet giveaway is good there. There are a lot of
They
kids
did
get the
that,
helmets.
yeah. But I'm not sure exactly where they stand with the donation stuff on that. Were you talking about a bike giveaway for just, well, yeah, you can work with Sharon to figure out what's going on with that, and if there's something that,
I think they got it donated from Lewes Bicycle Shop or the Green One or
I'll find out.
One Bicycle.
Yeah, I've done the bike rodeo for the past few years, and we haven't given out bikes, as far as I know, at that. The police department.
no,
there's
that's what
another-
I didn't want to speak on the rodeo part of it, because I'm usually one place or the other,
Right.
and not the rodeo. So I know that we've given out bikes in the past, but it's been on the donation side, where they would call raffle tickets for the kids, basically. But I mean, in the past, there's been, if Walmart has them, there's 20 bikes there, but they're kids' bikes, they weren't, so I'm not sure about the other bikes.
The bike rodeo is a good, from my perspective, is a good thing.
Yeah, I haven't been at one.
The
so I-
kids really like it, and it gives them a chance to hear some good instruction and
Yeah.
maybe listen to it, then they get some helmets if they need it. So brings people together nicely.
No, I'll plan on attending.
Excellent. Thanks. And Mary wants to know, so something we can do to ramp up publicity in advance of the bike rodeo.
Do you know how this has been done in the past?
So it kind of sits in the parking lot at the block, or at Smith Pond, so it's most of the stuff is in the grass, and the stuff is behind the bike rodeo is in the actual parking lot.
Yeah, and I was just talking about how they, promoted it.
Announce it
I
ahead of
don't know
time.
they did. I don't know there was any promotion really done
So you
for it.
promote.
We can put stuff on the city's
We can-
website
You
and
promote the
Facebook
bike,
page.
the Lewes Night Out, right?
Yeah.
So we
Yes,
can
and we
maybe
can-
just add something
Yeah.
about the,
I can talk to Sharon about
Yeah.
because the police department has a different website, that has a different Facebook page than we do. So we can get something on the city's Facebook page, and we can also get something on the PD's Facebook page.
that would be
Good.
good.
Yep.
And I can reach out to the bike shops and also let the schools know. Something else I'd like to include would be folks who are dealing with PTAs and organizations like that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. And one of the bike shops might want to participate more in the rodeo, who knows?
Fortunately, school's out, so it's going to be, you're not going to get much.
School's out for this one, which I think makes it tougher for them, but, there's still folks around.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Good. Okay, the next item on the new business was the discussion and possible action on committee's review of the 4th Street Preserve Master Plan, which looks like good looking ahead. Ray, you had some, or Jack, you had some input on that?
Well, that was it. I just, once they do have a firm plan for the park there, you know, we ought to look at it to make sure it's pedestrian friendly.
How do we get engaged in that? What's the?
Well, we don't have the property yet, so we need to just
Yeah.
First, they have to
hold
close.
off.
Okay.
And from what I understand, it's not going to be a park. It is going
Be
to
a
be a
preserve.
preserve.
Preserve, right.
So I do not believe that there will be
Well,
much.
there'll be paths through the preserve, from my understanding, what I had.
I think there'll be, I mean, they're certainly not going to be for bikes.
Right.
Yeah.
There'll be pedestrian paths, but they're going to be very light
mulch.
shape, yeah.
It might make sense if it's not meant for bikes to drive through, we would think that people might drive their bike there and have maybe a
walk.
bike,
We're
and
talking-
walk through maybe a bike rack
Right, so
to
maybe
keep
a
people.
bike rack,
It's a good
I would
idea.
recommend that you.
Good idea.
Or
I would
signage,
recommend
no
that you
bikes
go
or
to
something.
the Parks and Rec Commission and watch their last meeting. The presentation was given by Rodney Robinson.
Okay,
And if you watch his presentation, there's a lot of discussion, and that's where the plan is. So you can see the plan in the agenda and also listen to,
And how do we see that?
you just have to go onto the city's website and
Okay.
find the meeting, Parks and Rec, it was last
Okay.
Monday, and click on it and you can watch a video.
Good,
It'll bring you to YouTube and you can watch the video on YouTube.
good.
Thanks.
Good input.
But the main part of the master plan is they're basically creating a wetland
Right.
for stormwater management. That's what's going to be the most costly. I think the passive walking paths will be fine. Removing a lot of invasive species will take time, but it really, I mean, Julia is exactly right. I mean, in the past, it's been thought or mentioned, referred to as a park, but it really is going to be a preserve.
yeah.
Yes. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it was a good success. Hopefully it'll close.
Hopefully.
Yep.
Okay. So that's the new business. Aaron, anything else? You know,
Matt, I hope to see y'all soon in person as we deal with our schedules adjusting, but I think that'll start happening next month.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you.
So to public comment, so I think we have one gentleman who would like to make himself known. If you could please announce your name and your residence, please.
My name is Tim Bain. I'm in Bay Breeze, right here in Lewes. And there's two things I wanted to bring up. First of which is, I just had cataract surgery, so I'm trying to figure out the glasses here.
In there.
We know it's a multi-use bike path out there. There's no doubt about that. Since day one, that's what we understood. With that being the case, there's everybody out there. We have the moms with the strollers, the dads too. We have elderly people, we have young kids, we have everybody out there. Now we have the e-bike. The e-bike, which if you go on Amazon, 28 plus miles per hour. And that plus is for real also. You can get that option for any e-bike apparently if you go out through Amazon. I don't know what the shops do around here, but I can tell you that I'm right on the bike path, so it's right out the back door. I hear them coming from about 50 yards down, no lie, about 30, let's say 30 yards, and 30 yards going by. And they're like, if you're looking at it outside there, it's like that or like that. They're moving real quick. And the main thing is, I think, is that there's no warning device for anybody, either a pedestrian or another bike or somebody coming at you to let you know that they're coming. That's a problem. Now, you might hear them, but by the time you hear them, they're gone. Once again, there needs to be a warning device. If they say, on your left, you'll never hear them. And seldom do they say that, by the way. And there's people out there now that are on the path and say, what the hey was that? I mean, these are people coming in for the summer, whatever. They're not used to this kind of action out there. I would invite anybody on the advisory committee, stop by my house on a Saturday would be ideal, and I will guarantee you, you'll see this kind of activity out there. What do we do about it? I'm not exactly sure. It's quite the rage now. I don't know how many e-bikes come in versus conventional bikes on the back of cars that park at the library. My guess is the e-bikes are gaining in popularity. So that's my first issue, I guess. The second thing is Clay Road. We're getting ready to approach the anniversary where there was a fatality out there. It was a scooter, and it would happen to anybody, whether you're a pedestrian or if you're on a bike, because the driver was distracted clearly that ran into the vehicle at that
And
time.
where are you referring to?
Clay Road.
Where is Clay Road again?
Clay Road comes into Kings Highway.
Down past the high school.
Right.
Okay.
So it's not within city limits.
and people going to the light on Kings Highway, they are jackassing down there in a pell-mell fashion to that light. That's one issue. The other issue, there's no shoulder on Clay Road. So if a
You need
bike...
to come up to the microphone.
Yeah, sure. There's no shoulder on Clay Road.
Sir, we can't do anything about Clay Road. It's out of town. Not saying that we don't share your concern. It's just that.
Thank you.
You know,
Who would have,
there's-
who has
That's
jurisdiction?
the state police's jurisdiction. It's going to be
Okay.
pushed to DelDOT.
Okay.
So.
So
I'm just-
reporting
just letting
up
you
to
know.
the state
Yeah.
police, those concerns, I guess, would
You can.
be helpful to some degree.
We're all dealing with the
Yes.
same problem,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I'm just letting you know.
Okay, fair enough. The bike path coming off of Gill's Neck leads one into Clay Road. That's a nasty situation, and you see bikes coming out of there. I've even rolled down my window and said, get off this highway. This is not safe. I told them, really. And never mind the fact they don't have helmets on. So I'll let that be on Clay Road, but just wanted to let you all know what the...
Thank you, Tim.
The story is on the e-bikes with the noise out there.
Yeah,
It's pretty-
the e-bikes have been identified as a nuisance and a safety issue, and unfortunately, I don't think there's not a whole, except for education, there's not a whole lot we can do until the laws catch up with the
Yeah, there is
potential
no
here.
law enforcement measure for it yet. Not saying that your concern is certainly shared amongst many, many, many people. We hear it quite frequently. It's just like anything else, until we get enforcement, some teeth in the law that, which I don't know where it's at, but it'll have to come at some point.
I just hate to see us being in a reactive mode.
No,
And that's what
we don't want to do that, but as far as us actually doing something about it, we share your concerns. It's just
Sir,
enforcement.
I ride, not so
Let me
much...
just say, the retailers around here, and retailers generally, they will sell e-bikes that are a Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, and a Class 3 tops out at 28 miles per hour pedal assisted. It doesn't have a throttle. You have to power it with your feet. And the maximum power that bike will provide electric assistance to is 28 miles per hour. If you're going downhill or if you're pedaling really hard, you can make it go faster than that. Usually it doesn't happen. So outside of the mainstream manufacturers, you can get something that is basically an electric moped that looks like an e-bike. There's a gray area with a lot of this stuff, and bigger cities have dealt with this, other jurisdictions have dealt with this. I think the struggle for us has been, at what point does this just become reckless cycling or reckless operation of a bicycle, whatever you want to call it. There are some there are some legal lines people are crossing with recklessly operating these vehicles. I live on the trail. There's a guy who is coming in on what is basically a moped every night commuting to work, and one of my neighbors just waited for him one night, got out there and yelled at him. And, there's not a lot of enforcement along the trail. I think it's a struggle for a lot of jurisdictions. At the same time, there's people on a normal bicycle who can get up to 30 plus miles an hour, and they can hurt people too, right? So I think the e-bikes make some reckless cycling behaviors more accessible to more people who maybe wouldn't be able to get that fast on their own. But yeah, it's a really tough from a local jurisdiction perspective, and I know past iterations of this committee have struggled with the same thing because it's just really difficult to enforce. I'm not sure how DelDOT or our local police or anybody are supposed to go grab somebody who's doing reckless cycling on a trail, especially when they have so many other priorities going on.
Is there
Or
a law
something
against
we eventually have to do with,
reckless cycling?
He was
speed
saying
bumps
there
around
is no
problem
law.
areas
So
or
they
you name
can't
it.
do anything.
Yeah, sorry, Aaron, I was speaking over you, but there is no law against
Well, not
reckless
saying that there
cyclists,
is
but-
nothing that you could,
Yeah,
like with many code books, you can find some language in there,
Right.
but sometimes you're getting to the point where you're stretching something, and then on top of that, like Aaron's saying, it's just the fact that you have to try to catch somebody doing it, you have to enforce it. So case in point is every time I'm in my marked police car and I'm riding down the road, I see nobody on a cell phone. But when I'm in my personal vehicle and I'm riding down that same road, I see 40 people on a cell phone. So people behave when there's enforcement around. I'm not saying that there's not something that could be done at some point in time, but as far as correcting behavior, it's tricky to try to figure it out until the state says, hey, we're going to step in and assist with safety aspects.
I do want to say though, around Bay Breeze though, and pardon the toddler noise in the background, around Bay Breeze, we do have a couple of particular turns in our local trail network that I think do very much lead to some more conflicts among users on the trails.
Yeah, definitely.
I can add that, I know in the bike master plan from the state, they do recommend a bike ambassador program.
Right.
And one of the things in the work, and as I recall from the DelDOT folks, is these would be people who are volunteers or paid. They would not have enforcement abilities, but they would have a vest or something that designates them as a bike ambassador. And having them on the trail, to the deputy chief's point, may be a deterrent in that if they're riding a bike and someone or anybody, whether on an e-bike or not, sees them, I mean, they're there for a resource as well, but they also may have a deterrent effect on speeding and other, engagement. If people see them, they'll slow down. Who knows?
You're probably right. It's some level of authority that's problematic in some ways, I guess.
Yeah, I think Cape State Park had them. I don't know if they still do or not, but we've talked about bike ambassador programs here before and many other ambassador programs. It's obviously just a staffing and management issue, even though might not be paid, that somebody from the city, if they're working on behalf of the city, that they're managed by somebody from the city and then trained and all the things that come along with it. So certainly, as the trails get overcrowded, just like the streets and everything else will.
The city has plans to look at plans for a bike ambassador program.
No,
right?
we've talked about it in the
we've
past,
talked
and then we shelved it until the master plan was done, and then they reviewed it, and I think it's part of one of the recommendations, and I think frankly, I don't know where that's going to rank on this,
priorities.
but
Mr.
I know
Chairman.
there's interest amongst council.
Could we include you as a volunteer for the bike ambassador program?
Yeah, you can probably twist my arm, yeah. There was actually a gas motor bike that went down, loudest, and so I called the police department, and sure enough, somebody came out either from the park. I think the park has jurisdiction over that trail too, as I understood it. At least they mowed it. They mowed it, But anyway, somebody came down in one of your vehicles, like one of the small ones, and went down a couple times and never saw the guy again after that happened.
Yeah.
It was a female sergeant that actually did that. She's still with the force, and thank you very much. But yeah. So I think that's a little bit of a deterrent too, if you have like a police presence like that. It just goes down every once in a while.
Yeah. We've had our own staffing issues.
Understood.
But prior to that, we have actual details to try to be on the trails more, whether it's the bike, the ATV, sometimes people don't like it being on the trails. But it works and it allows us to get where we need to. If something happens, we can respond in a timely fashion. But so we'll go
You all have ATVs, or people are riding ATVs?
No, us. During COVID, we certainly were on the trails with the ATV, the little Polaris thing.
Mr. Bain, thank you for your
Thank you very
input.
much.
Appreciate it. It was a good discussion. Thank you. Okay, is there any other public comments out there? It doesn't sound like it. I think we're about done. Anything else that we need to discuss, folks? So we have another meeting on July 22nd,
I sent her.
and I assume Mary will be back by that time, and we can get a little more specific on some of the recommendations for the workshop at that point. So, if nothing else, would someone like to adjourn to?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay. And all that would agree? Yeah.
Aye.
Aye?
I think we had a third there.
Yeah, Simon thirded it.
Okay. All right, from meeting is officially.
Simon said, Dad, I need to go to bed in 10 minutes. What are you doing?
Thanks,